to be with you today, and good to see so many have been able to join. Colleagues, friends, over the past year, COVID-19 has been reminding us day after day about the importance of resiliency, being able to adapt to shocks, being able to cope with the unexpected. And in order to be able to do that, one requires certain essential skills. And you won't be surprised that I'm talking about life skills and financial skills. At Aflatoun, we believe that it is really important that every young person at early age learns the habits of saving, financial responsibility. And as they do so, they also enhance their self-confidence, leadership abilities, and entrepreneurial skills. That is the way to build resiliency. However, results from many recent studies in Asia show that actually children and young people have very low levels of financial literacy. In fact, we find the same low levels among their parents, the adults. But at the same time, there is still a general belief that children should learn about money, about finances from their parents, from their family. But what if your family doesn't understand the basics of finances themselves? And that is unfortunately the reality for many children in Asia, and across the world actually. If we want children to successfully transition from childhood to adulthood, to successfully transition from school to work life, we need to provide them with essential social and financial skills through the education system. And that's why we're here today, to discuss how we can ensure that children systematically receive quality life skills and financial education. And you hear me using the word systematically, because this will require a systems change approach. It means integrating life skills and financial education into the national curriculum. Today we'll hear a number of best practices, experiences, examples of how countries have integrated financial education into their national curriculum. We'll hear about challenges, lessons learned, and best practices. And at Aflatoun, this is part of our business. We are working with over 40 governments as we speak. And my colleague Hassan will share with you a more detailed review of our experiences. But I just want to highlight a few important points. First of all, there is not one way. Different approaches can be successful, and it really depends on the local country situation. Secondly, is we absolutely need to work together, and that's why I'm so happy to see today so many different stakeholders. It needs to be a partnership of Ministry of Education, Central Bank, Ministry of Finance, civil society, private sector, and of course we need to involve the parents and the children's perspectives themselves. We need to invest in the teachers. That is so important and a lesson we see in every country. And we need to recognize that it takes time. There are many more lessons which we'll hear today. And therefore, I'm really honored to have Dr. Ethel Valenzuela, the Executive Director of the Southeast Asia Ministers of Education Organization. You are an inspiration for many of us, so thank you for being with us today. I would like to thank Pak Hasbi, Dr. Andaya, Rosie Shakia, and my good friend Shamali for willing to present today. We look forward to learn from your experiences from different countries in Asia. And I myself and my colleagues from Aflatoun look forward to continue to collaborate with you all on this important work. I wish you a very good meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Roeland. Dr. Ethel, thank you again for being here with us today. You have the word now.
Thank you very much. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening. I am very happy to join Aflatoun International and all of you experts on lifelong learning in this Asia Regional Online Meeting Series 3. And today we'll be discussing integrating life skills and financial education into national education curriculum. SEAMEO represents 11 countries in Southeast Asia. Let me now please share my presentation.
Thank you very much for inviting SEAMEO Secretariat in this important discussion. I'm here to share with you SEAMEO's role in advancing country-level strategies in the integration of life skills and perhaps financial education into national education curricula. Life skills has three major areas: occupational skills, daily living skills, personal, and social skills. Life skills in 21st century is actually categorized into three main streams, comprising of foundational literacies, competencies, and characters, with 16 required skills. And in terms of SEAMEO's response to the development of life skills, there's one center of SEAMEO which really focuses on lifelong learning, and that is SEAMEO Center for Lifelong Learning, which is based in Ho Chi Minh City in Vietnam. The center tries to do some foundational literacy upgrading, and then the students also need to learn about the core skills of everyday tasks, which are sometimes promoted to different capacity building activities, such as literacy, numeracy, scientific literacy, ICT literacy, financial literacy, cultural and civic literacy. So in terms of tasking ministries of education to integrate this newer form of literacies or foundational literacies, most of these are embedded and integrated in the subjects and the curricula. Some are specifically delivered through modules, and especially developing competencies of children on critical thinking and problem solving, creativity, communication, collaboration. Group work, group activities, collaborative activities can develop competencies of children, whatever subjects these are integrated. But in terms of character qualities on how students can actually change their perception in the changing environment, like curiosity, initiatives, persistence, grit, adaptability, leadership, social and cultural awareness, these are also integrated from K-12 curriculum and even up to higher education. Life skills and financial education is crucial at this time, and many are actually worried whether we are actually teaching the kids, our future, this financial education and literacy. Some countries in Southeast Asia have already advanced integration of financial literacy embedded in the different subjects, such as life skills and financial education for students to be able to live successfully in this era. Financial literacy has also been well known for a decade and will continue to be one of the continuing trust in any curriculum and subject in our region. With many countries in Southeast Asia developing at greater speed, the need for financial literacy is really paramount. And despite being a necessary life skills, it has grown importance in today's complex world. Financial literacies still often sees as boring, but very, very relevant. Financial literacy is greater in emerging economies, but it is truly a global problem, as only a third of adults worldwide have understanding of basic financial literacy. When looking at Southeast Asia, this problem is indeed stark, given that the average financial literacy scores in 5 Southeast Asian countries, like Malaysia, Indonesia, Thailand, Vietnam, and Cambodia, is 12.46%. This was reported in 2018. The region is home to countries that have their respective idiosyncrasies in language, in culture, income levels, and spending and purchasing habits, all of which have significant impacts on how people manage all their finances. Therefore, teaching financial literacy is not one size fits all for Southeast Asia, but it should also look at the diversity in the region. Most of the ministries of education have taken life skills and financial skills in the curriculum, and the emerging issue is on actually implementation. But the good news is that the companies in Asia are working to improve financial literacy among people. Even the non-government units are helping, and the civil society organizations. As shown in the graphic by the Global Financial Literacy Excellence Centers, majority of the countries in the world are still having financial literacy below 50%. The table and chart show financial literacy of most Southeast Asian countries broken down country by country in terms of financial literacy rate, and it's varied. Singapore scored higher, 59%, Cambodia is 18%, and this shows the gap of literacy in our region. Insurers and financial planners in Southeast Asia should also gear up to help in the long haul. A poor grasp of basic concepts, such as a deluge of information and a certain economic prospects, are hurting these companies and individuals to plan ahead. Basic financial knowledge and skills across Southeast Asia and the wider Asia Pacific, as they reported, decreased since 2014. The survey of more than 8,000 people last year measured basic money management as well as knowledge of financial literacy and planning. Indonesia and the Philippines scored the lowest in the region. On basic money management, the Philippines and Indonesia scored 70, but both were lower than the Asia Pacific average of 75. Vietnam improved slightly in financial literacy. In Vietnam, financial literacy rates are much higher among young adults than older adults. Current policies and gaps in financial education in Asia can be summarized as follows. There are many policies needed in Asia in areas of financial literacy and financial education. And we can also see that some countries are advanced in developing strategies, such as in Indonesia. Indonesia also conducted a projection of integrated financial education in elementary and junior high school curriculum since 2011. Indonesia and the Philippines are relatively strong compared to other countries in financial education and literacy. Central banks offer also some important training capacity building, and they're very active, including the Reserve Bank of Indonesia, Bank Negara Malaysia, and Bangko Sentral of the Philippines and Bank of Thailand. Financial regulators should also be serving as source of information in financial services, especially in Indonesia. SEAMEO has many initiatives working with different countries to integrate life skills and literacy, considering also financial literacy and education. This can be seen in SEAMEO Priority Area number 7, which is part of developing a holistic 21st century skills. Policy and advocacy on life skills and financial education in the form of high-level forum could also be done, and SEAMEO centers can lead in training of trainers in promoting and advancing life skills and literacy and conducting researches that are needed to be shared in wider community of Southeast Asia. We would like to thank Aflatoun for inviting SEAMEO to take a closer look at financial literacy and share where we are and what we think on how countries in the region can better advocate for financial literacy and further integrating them into the curriculum. Thank you so much, and we hope for a better discussion on this issue. Congratulations, Aflatoun.
Thank you, Dr. Ethel. I think this has been a great overview of the situation of social and life skill and financial skills in the region. Is there anything else you'd like to add? Thank you, perfect. So to moderate the discussion today, we have Shamali Jayaratne joining us. She is the Deputy Director of the Network for Education, Children and Youth in Sri Lanka. Thank you, Shamali. And you have the word.
Yeah, thank you so much, Diana. And thank you, Aflatoun, for making me the moderator for today's event. And first of all, I would like to say a huge thanks to our keynote speaker, Ethel Agnes, for her inspiring speech. And it's really an eye-opener for us and full of insight. Thank you so much. Let me introduce the objectives of our event today. Diana, would you like to share the screen? Yes, we have 4 objectives mainly. And the first one is to explain why it is important to integrate life skills and financial education into national education curriculum. Secondly, to describe the process of integrating life skills and financial education into national education curriculum. Next, to share lessons learned and best practices during the integration process. Lastly, to share how Aflatoun International support to the national integration process. And now I have the honor to introduce our prominent speakers for the day. And our first speaker, Dr. Muhammad Hasbi. Let me give a brief introduction of him. He is the Director of Early Childhood Education, Minister of Education, Indonesia. Has been serving for more than 20 years as a government employee, especially in the Ministry of Education, Indonesia. He is a Bachelor of Development Management from Administrative Institution, Makassar, Indonesia. Master's degree, he also has a master's degree in Education, Research and Evaluation from Yogyakarta University, Indonesia. And also a doctor in public administration from Makassar Public University, Indonesia. And his topic today is integrating life skill and financial education into preschool curriculum. It's learning from Indonesia, Ministry of Education. And our second speaker today is Dr. Jocelyn Andrea. She is the 4th Director, Bureau of Curriculum Development at Department of Education, Philippines. And also 3rd Director, Bureau, Secondary Education, Philippines. To talk about her education backgrounds, she has 2 master's degree, master's degree in Education Leadership, Administration from University of Sydney, and master's degree in Curriculum and Instruction from University of Philippines. Also from De La Salle University, Doctor of Education, Curriculum and Instruction. Her topic today is integration, life skill and financial education into K-12 curriculum, learning from Department of Education, Philippines. And our third speaker, Rosie Shakya. She's the program coordinator at SEAMEO, Nepal, an NGO supporting the government to achieve sustainable development goals for quality education. She also has experience in development fields at Global Humanitarian Spain, UNICEF, UNESCO, Save the Children, World Vision, and Plan International. She also has a bachelor's degree of arts in social work from University of Kathmandu, master's degree in sociology from Tribhuvan University. Her topic today is integrating life skills and financial education into secondary school curriculum, learning from Nepal. And our final speaker today is Hassan Martat. He's a Director of National Policies and Strategies of Aflatoun International, working with Aflatoun since 2009. A little bit of educational background of him. Montpellier Sub-Agro Masters of Engineering. His field of study is food industry, tropical and developing areas. He also has a Master's of Chemistry at University of Muhammad V, Morocco. Hassan is going to talk about the Aflatoun International support to national curriculum integration. Now, let us see our first presentation.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Jakarta time. First of all, I would like to thank you to Aflatoun International for inviting us to this Asia regional meeting with the theme integrating life skill and financial education into national education curriculum. And also for a very productive partnership in building social and financial education in Indonesia, especially in early childhood education area for the last 4 years. In 2017, Aflatoun International and Ministry of Education and Culture, Republic of Indonesia became partners to implement and contextualize the Aflatoun program for Indonesian preschools. The Aflatoun curriculum focuses on young children between 3 to 6 years old and provide an early childhood education program that lays on the foundation for social and financial literacy. In the following year, Provincial Center for Early Childhood Education and Community Education, West Java, was assigned to formulate the necessary policies for the Ministry of Education and Culture and pilot test the Aflatoun program in 5 different preschools in West Java. And then the Aflatoun program then modified to the Indonesian needs by focusing on children between 5 to 6 years old and transform the Aflatoun's illustration to be more contextualized for Indonesian children. One of the key accomplishment in 2019, I guess, was the decision by the Indonesian Ministry of Education and Culture to scale up the Aflatoun program to 29 additional provinces in the country, which resulted on the teacher trainings and social and financial program implementation in more provinces in further year. Finally, in 2020, there are social and financial education national policy of diversification curriculum modules created by the selected team at the Indonesian Ministry of Education and Culture to guide and supervise the social and financial education implementation in Indonesia. We also trained more than 1,500 teachers. And today, Miss Donna Paramita will bring you more detail with how Ministry of Education and Culture in Indonesia integrating social and financial education into early childhood education curriculum. Miss Donna, please.
Thank you for the opportunity, Mr. Hasbi. Good morning for Dutch time and good afternoon for Indonesian time. May all of us be in good health and happiness, of course. I'm Donna from the Directorate of Early Childhood Education, Ministry of Education and Culture. I am one of the staff from Mr. Hasbi. Thank you for the opportunity, Mr. Hasbi. I will tell of you the stories, what SF is, journey from the MOU to the implementation in the national curriculum of early childhood education. I will start share screen. Okay. So it's about integrating social financial education into early childhood education curriculum. So the overview is the MOU between MOEC and Aflatoun International. And the second, the policy development. The third, the process of adaptation. Next, the adaptation process is about content integration. And then social financial education for preschool module. And then I will describe about social financial education national policy of curriculum modules diversification, and then the implementation process, and how the delivered of implementation of SFE in 2020, and about integration into the curriculum, and about implementing SFE at EC centers, and how about the output and our future plans. Okay, I will describe about MOU between MOEC and Aflatoun International. The content of the MOU is about developing social and financial education modules in accordance with early childhood development and growth and environmental and cultural characteristics. And the second, integrate the values of social and financial education in the training modules for early childhood educators. And the third, try out the training modules for early childhood teachers and apply them to early childhood students. And then next, carry out a baseline and monitor and evaluate the trial results. And then finally, make the necessary efforts to develop social education and financial education, the modules and the social education and financial education training modules for early childhood educators, which can be used more widely by other parties. So we did point 1 to 4 in 2019. We developed the model by integrating the SFE values in early childhood learning practices and implemented directly to children in some areas as a pilot project. And then in this year, in 2020, we established a module as a policy to integrate an EC curriculum with the contents of SFE values. As the following, we conduct intensive training for EC teachers that aims to expand the implementation to more numbers of EC students. And then the journey of the policy development is the first time is MOU between Aflatoun and MOEC of Indonesia. And then the MOU is about a partnership between the Director General of EC and Community Education with Aflatoun International related to development of SFE in EC. And then the next is about adaptation of SFE value to Indonesian context, performed with adapting the Aflatoun program that has been developed by Aflatoun International and focus on adjusting the national curriculum and early learners characteristic. The conceptual review is undertaken by involved EC practitioners and EC academics. And then the third, model development module of SFE. Furthermore, an adaptation result of the SFE module is prepared. And then next, we do implementation of SFE value in EC units as a pilot project. This implementation is to study empirically, which is conducted through limited field trials in 5 EC units spread across from 5 regencies in West Java. The regencies namely is West Bandung Regency, Bandung City, and Cimahi City. After the trial, we revise the module based on the information of the limited field trial results. And then next, we do model replication which adapted to the local context. It's about 16 provinces. We development and replication of adaptation result modules implemented in 15 technical services unit that spread across 15 provinces in Indonesia. It's about it's like a pilot project. And then next, we dissemination of SFE models as a national policy for EC. It's about the socialization of the module text that has been adapted nationally, was attended by stakeholder, EC practitioners, and EC academics. And then next, we do SFA National Policy of Diversification Curriculum. It's about preparation of a national scale curriculum implementation module containing SFE values. And then next step, we do training for trainers on SFE implementation for 50 districts, training for trainers in regency or cities to implement the EC curriculum that contains SFE values. And then finally, training of teachers. We do training of teachers and then school principals and supervisors too on SFA implementation, which include around 1,500 teachers, training on the implementation of social finance education for teachers, school principal, supervisor in 50 regency in Indonesia. Okay. Next, I will explain about the adaptation process that we have done regarding in the SFA practices. This step is very important for us because considering that Indonesian has a diverse culture. So firstly, we conduct a study or assessment of the Aflatoun program is in 2017. Here we analyze the suitability of Aflatoun program with Indonesian characteristic. And secondly, we integrate SFA values into the EC national curriculum. Adjustments are made by considering Indonesian characteristic, the learning models used, the varied play activities, and the media or tools or materials used for implementing the SFA curriculum based on SFA values in the curriculum. Thirdly, we conduct a field test to determine the effectiveness of the modules that implemented into children learning practices and how the SFA values integrated to the curriculum and can affect children's development. Next, the integration as the adaptation process with the Aflatoun program resulted in the 5 chapters, 12 modules, and 41 activities for 3 until 6 years old children. The contents therein refers to Permendikbud. Permendikbud is regulation by the Ministry of Education and Culture. The number is 137/2040 and number 146/2014, clearly defining the national EC curriculum and guidance. The content then implemented focus or for age 5 until 6 years old. And then next about the modules. So resulting from the adaptation modules consist of 3 parts, namely is part 1, the importance of education and social financial education, which focus on the issue and the phenomenon regarding the SFA implementation that's applied early. And then part 2 is about social and financial education in the 2013 EC curriculum contents integrating values in SFE of 2013 EC curriculum, including lesson plan document objective, and then related theme, plan activities, and much more relevant materials. And then part 3 is about application of social and financial education in EC. Is about how to implement SFE in early childhood learning, including the media, tools, equipment, material strategies, and learning models.
Donna, sorry to interrupt you. Please note that we have a couple of minutes left.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, and then in 2020, we complete our modules. Is about 4 modules. Is a national policy, which in their implementation can be adapted to the local context and focus on children's needs and interests. Module 1 about the concept of EC of SFE, the role of education and personal, parents, and then ACE partners in implementing an SFE. Module 2 is about integration of SFE in curriculum document at EC centers. And then module 3 is about activities, method, learning resources, and implementing SFE at SC centers. And module 4 is about implementing of children development assessment containing SFA at EC centers. And it is about our dissemination of the implementation of learning content SFA in 2019 and 19, and then it's about the delivered implementation SFA in 2020, and then it's about how to relate the curriculum with the SFA values, and then we can. This is one too. You can. It's about how the way to implement SFA at the EC centers, and then the output we have the modules, we have the policy, and we have the outreach is about 22,500, and the future plan. The curriculum document containing SFS values should be made available at 1,000 EC centers in Indonesia. The curriculum containing SFA values in 1,000 EC centers will be implemented by 1,500 teachers, supposedly impacting to 22,500 children in 2021. Collaboration with district stakeholder will be enhanced in widespread the implementation of SFA and EC level. EC center that have successfully implemented SSE will become pilot institution for other EC centers in the regency or city. And then the MOEC will work closely with Aflatoun to carry out evidence-based studies on the implementation of SFE at EC level in Indonesia. Thank you. Thank you for your attention. That is our journey. I will stop screen.
Thank you very much, Dr. Mohammed Hasbi and Pramita, for your brilliant presentation. Next, I would like to invite Dr. Jocelyn Andea for her presentation.
Thank you very much. May I be allowed to share my screen? Okay, for a while. May I ask if does my screen can be seen now?
No, not yet.
Not yet. Sorry, let me do it again.
We can see it now.
Yeah, thank you. Here. All right. So thank you everyone for inviting the Department of Education to share with you our initiatives on financial literacy. Good morning in other parts of the world, and good afternoon to all those in Southeast Asia. The title of my presentation is Financial Education in the Philippines, K-12 Curriculum, Perspectives and Insights. Let me start by quoting Mr. Rogers Jr. when he said that financial literacy is just as important in life as the other basics. As the quote implies, financial literacy is an equally important basic skill which will enable one to survive in an increasing consumer world that we live in. The importance of financial literacy is continuously growing because workers change job often. There's divergence in wages, in which skills are critical in order to land on a good job, greater complexity of financial products, more opportunities to invest and to borrow, more individual retirement accounts, and of course, life expectancy now is high. So my presentation will now dwell on the essential life skills and financial literacy, which finds its legal basis in the many documents that not just the Department of Education, but other agencies have released. Of course, the initiatives of the Department of education and the process of integration of financial education in the K-12 curriculum, specifically also in the school level. It was, okay, I cannot change my slide. Something has happened. Okay. Sorry, give me a little. Okay. It was Alan Greenspan in 1926 who said that the number one problem in today's generation and economy is the lack of financial literacy. It's been a problem for so many years now because financial literacy is one of the weakest links in the educational system, not only in the Philippines, but in other countries or other parts of the world as well. Nowadays, it seems like debt is a way of life. The youth are not building the skills they need to manage money wisely and successfully throughout their life. The PISA Financial Literacy Assessment looks into measuring financial literacy among the young generation. PISA, of course, is the first large-scale international study to assess the financial literacy of 15-year-old students from 18 countries which participated in 2012 and 15 countries participated in 2015. Financial literacy in the Philippines, as indicated in the slide, the data here was presented by, or were presented by the Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas, or BSP, in one of their expo activities. And the data were, of course, research-based. And it found out that in 2015, the country did not have a national strategy for financial education, and only 25% of the population, who are adult Filipinos, are financially literate. But of course, 25% of the middle class families and only 0.1% belong to the upper class. And only 8 to 10% of Filipinos invest whether in stocks, insurance, or mutual funds. Literacy or financial literacy is one of the essential basic skills found under the K-12 curriculum. Financial literacy is not only for adults, but skills that our young generation must have. Being financially literate helps us to understand good money management. Developing then the awareness, skills, and confidence in making financial decisions is critical in establishing lifelong positive behaviors. This can be done by educating our youth on financial literacy. In the Philippines, the government, through the Department of Education, is addressing this concern. Thus, financial literacy is integrated in the K-12 curriculum in various disciplines across grade levels. It finds its legal basis of integrating financial literacy in the K-12 curriculum from Republic Act number 10922, which is the Economic and Financial Literacy Act, Republic Act number 10679, which is the Youth Entrepreneurship Act, and Republic Act number 10533, the Enhanced Basic Education Curriculum Act. What's the challenge for DepEd? How does DepEd or the Department of Education address this financial literacy problem? This is just an introduction leading to the various initiatives conducted by the Department of Education on financial education, as well as the various activities conducted by the Bureau of Curriculum Development to address the given challenge. For instance, this slide shows us the alignment of the three components: curriculum, instruction, and assessment. Since the curriculum gives us the content and skills, plus leading our teachers to use financial literacy pedagogies and strategies, and for checking the outcome of instruction, teachers can use project-based activities. Curriculum indicates the knowledge, understanding, skills, and attitudes in the intended curriculum that learners actually acquire as a result of teaching and learning through the implemented curriculum, and assessed through different means and or demonstrated in practice. The attained curriculum will recognize the learning outcomes of course, our learners. Here are some examples of financial and entrepreneurship learning competencies in some of the learning areas such as technology and livelihood education in grades 4 and 5, entrepreneurship in grades 11 and 12, an alternative learning system, okay, or now our non-formal education learning stand for life and career skills. Okay. These samples also are from our TLE or technical livelihood education, and in these there are competencies that can be found on financial literacy and entrep. For the same also in the other grade levels. Okay, for entrepreneurship, which are salient, which includes the salient competencies on financial literacy, we have implementing the business plan, operating the business, selling the product, and so on. And these are taken up or tackled by our grades 11 and 12 students. Okay. For our alternative learning system, we teach them the ability to earn a living, employment, ability to earn a living via self-employment or entrepreneurship, and then productivity. And we have identified the standards that needed to be met in ALS learning stand for. Okay, for life and career skills, again, there's also a discussion on self-employment and entrepreneurship, understanding the market system, and sustainable consumption. We have defined financial education based on our context. This is a contextualized definition of financial education formulated during the crafting of the financial education policy. It is also based on the department's principles on contextualization, validated by the participants from the field and representatives from the department's partners. The objectives of integrating financial education in the K-12 curriculum are important, and teachers must not forget to focus on the objectives of integrating financial education in the K-12 curriculum, such as teach every Filipino learner the core values of financial literacy, help learners understand the value of money and resources, lead the learner in finding means to acquire or generate money, appreciate the value of planning, managing, saving, sharing, donating, investing, and resources. Very specific. Make them aware of their rights and protect their interests as consumers, and enable them to acquire entrepreneurial knowledge and skills. Okay. As a member also of the National Strategy for Financial Inclusion Steering Committee, the Department of Education takes on various initiatives to promote youth entrepreneurship and financial education programs, such as, of course, we capacitate our teachers on financial literacy. We integrate youth entrepreneurship and financial literacy education in the K-12 curriculum. And we partner with other financial institutions like the Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas, Aflatoun, Chaching, NAPCO, PLIA, and of course the BDO Bank. These are the various activities on financial education conducted by the Bureau of Curriculum Development in collaboration with DepEd partners or with the department partners, mainly on identifying the competencies in various disciplines across grade levels, and at the same time development of lesson exemplars to fill the identified gaps, and also the development of teaching guides so teachers are able to get hold of materials that they can use in order to teach financial literacy. We have developed the policy on the integration of financial literacy education in the K-12 curriculum, and we hope to be able to share this in the coming year. Okay. Again, our outputs on our financial literacy efforts, and some of those that we have done in terms of numbers, such as we were able to do the lesson exemplars, okay, and we hope that in all the learning areas, financial literacy education is integrated. Okay, these are some of the general guidelines that we observe on the integration of financial literacy. We integrate the core messages without changing the existing learning competencies and content standards of each learning areas of the K-12 basic education curriculum. We integrate and identified entry points within learning areas across grade levels whenever feasible, and with due consideration to degrees of difficulty. We provided lesson exemplars in each learning area as resources and or references of our teachers. We were able to identify learning materials, tools, and activities donated by public and private sector partners of the department. And our teachers may adapt or improve these materials, tools, and activities to contextualize the integration of financial education concepts and core messages. Now, how can integration be done in the lesson delivery? Because after all, a curriculum is just a piece of paper. It's just a guide to the teacher. What makes it alive, what makes it meaningful is when it is enlivened in the classroom by the teacher. So the teacher gives relevant drills, exercises, activities, and tools. Then financial concepts relating to the actual experiences of the learners are given. And there's a valuing process focusing on financial decisions and the inclusion of financial education concepts and financial capability indicators in learning assessments. And they looked at performance outputs where core messages are deemed applicable. We also ensure that the integration emphasizes the main objectives of financial education to allow the learners to understand the value of money, understand how it is acquired or generated, plan and manage the use of money and resources, save and share money and resources, and acquire awareness on consumer protection. Okay. So these are just some of the activities that we have done for financial literacy, and we hope that we'll be able to do more in the coming years as we move into the full implementation of this of the curriculum that we were integration that we were able to do in the last couple of years. With that, I end my presentation. Thank you very much for listening, and good afternoon once again.
Thank you very much, Dr. Jocelyn Andrea, for your great presentation and also sharing the brilliant experiences of integration of financial education in Philippines. Thank you so much. And next, I would like to invite our next presenter, Rosie Shakya.
Thank you so much for the invitee. I would like to share my presentation. Namaste, everyone. And I'd like to welcome all the participants to this third session. And this is a case of integration of the national social and financial education in the national education curriculum in Nepal. And I'm working in an NGO called Samunat Nepal. On behalf of the government of Nepal, we do not have any representatives currently here. But the program was an effort by the government of Nepal, UNICEF, and Samunat Nepal. My first slide is on the importance of having life skills, financial education, and 21st century skills in the national education curriculum. As you know, the importance of financial education has been understood by everyone. And for us in Nepal, the importance of integrating in the curriculum is to reach thousands of children to the formal education sector, which in Nepal constitutes more than 90% of the school-going children. Another importance is to ensure success in today's world, as already explained in the
Rosie, I think we lost you there for a second.
We lost Rosie, I think.
Yes.
So Dr. Suman maybe can continue with this, or We have Dr. Shumon from former UNICEF staff. If you want to continue with the presentation. Or Yogesh, yeah, I think. Maybe Shamali, maybe Hassan can start presenting his presentation then.
Yeah, sorry for the interruption. That is due to the technical problems everywhere in the world. Though we highly talk about the digital using of digital devices, this is happening everywhere. Now I would like to invite Hassan Mahtat for his presentation. After that, maybe we can switch on to her again.
Okay, thank you very much, Shamali. And great to see everybody again. And of course, good afternoon, good morning for those that are here still in the morning. I'm going to share my screen for the start of my presentation. Just 1 minute, please. Can you please let me know if you see my screen?
We see it.
Okay, perfect. Thank you very much. I would like to share with you actually our story a little bit and how does Aflatoun support different countries in the integration of social and financial education into the national curricula at different grades. So let me start first by saying that currently we are supporting 46 countries globally in these efforts of integration through different models. And when I speak about different models or different pathways, we found out from these experiences that the main pathways to reach the integration are either through a national strategy or of financial inclusion or financial education, meaning that the country has a strategy, has a plan, and is intending of making financial education a reality in the education system. The second pathway we found out is that that country or that Ministry of Education in that given country has started a reform of their education and is revising their curricula. And the third pathway we experienced is that of the Aflatoun partner network lobbying and advocating for the revision of this curriculum, of this national curriculum. And that is a joint effort done either by one organization, two organizations, or many other organizations, depending how many we have per country. And through these three different pathways, we always reach one element, and that is the revision or the reform of that curriculum. So even if a country has a national strategy for financial education, for instance, that financial education will always remain as either a parascholar activity, extra scholar activity. It will only become systematic in the system if that Ministry of Education starts a reform or revision. And it's the same thing when it comes to the lobbying or the advocacy done by the Aflatoun partners. They will only manage to include and systemize social and financial education if the Ministry of Education agrees to reform or revise its curriculum. Needless to say that these pathways always remain the main doorways and the main pathways to start the advocacy in order to reach integration. Now, let me share with you a few examples quickly before we go to the technical parts. For instance, in Jordan, they have followed the national financial inclusion strategies. Our partner INJAZ in Jordan has joined forces actually with the central bank, with the financial institutions, with donors, with technical experts, as well as other ministries such as the Ministry of Youth, Ministry of Finance, Ministry of Welfare and Women Affairs, for instance. And they have worked together in putting together a national committee for financial education. And that committee worked together in defining what are the objectives, what are the main goals of that financial education. And with support from the Ministry of Finance, with support from especially the central bank and the financial institutions, they have managed actually to make financial education a reality in the education system in Jordan. In Bangladesh, for example, Bangladesh has started since 4 years now a national reform of education. And that national reform is targeting the primary, the lower secondary, as well as the secondary education. And they have defined actually pillars around that education, namely the knowledge, the skills, the attitudes, the values, and the spirits. And based on those pillars of the education, they have identified core skills. And that is again where there was a possibility to include or integrate social and financial education. Another example is that of Kenya, and this shows us the third pathway, and that is where a number of our partner organizations have gathered and joined their forces into lobbying to include social and financial education into the national goals of education. But the Ministry of Education once again told them, listen, we have to wait to reform our education before we include anything new to it. So after the definition of new national goals, they have anchored 3 pillars, actually the educational 3 pillars, which are the values, the theoretical approaches, and the principles. And then they have defined the 7 core competencies. And this is where the Aflatoun partners came in and showed actually that indeed for these 7 core competencies, the Aflatoun program can be a program of choice. The other pathway which is new to us and which is also a sort of a floating pathway between the 3 pathways we have seen is that of UNICEF efforts of bringing in life skills and citizenship education to the national education systems. So UNICEF is making a lot of effort in each country, either through civil society or directly with the Ministry of Education and sometimes with other stakeholders, to bring what they call the LSCE, life skills and citizenship education. By the way, actually, Aflatoun International have contributed to the definition of these life skills and citizenship education core skills, what they call core skills. There are 12 skills, and it is through the Aflatoun framework of objectives that some of these skills have been defined. So Aflatoun has supported UNICEF in, for instance, Egypt, in Jordan, in Tajikistan, and in Nepal in introducing these life skills and citizenship education. As you can see here, again, we don't talk about financial education because a lot of time when we talk about integration, a lot of focus and emphasis is put on the financial literacy. And that is because the existing curricula already have a certain approach to life skills or a certain approach to social education. But now actually with the UNICEF's new definition of the life skills, with the support that we have with Aflatoun, we are trying to see how to still maintain that balance. And that's why you see again Jordan here in this instance, because in Jordan we have supported our partner for the financial education only, but at the same time we are making sure to support the ministry and UNICEF with the social or the life skills education part. Now, how do we contribute to these efforts? And I think this is the main objective of this intervention, is that Aflatoun needed first to understand how does a Ministry of Education work and how do they develop a national curriculum. And we found out actually that the International Bureau of Education of the UNESCO has already done a mapping during the last decade, and they found out actually that there is a commonality of how to do that process. And they have identified 7 steps to develop a national curriculum or to work on a national curriculum. And that goes from the policy dialogue, meaning that they need to identify what are the objectives, what are the national strategies that define this education, what are the influences for this curriculum. And based on that policy dialogue and that policy brief or policy decision they take, they start designing they work on the curriculum design. And that is the definition of the framework, the national framework of education. That gives them all the pillars of education, like we have seen for Kenya and Bangladesh, for example, and that's where they define the core competencies and the objectives. So based on that framework, they move to setting up the hours, setting up the approach. Is it active learning? Is it rote learning? Is it digital learning, etc.? Is it informal? Is it outside of the classroom, etc.? So based on all these inputs, they move to developing the textbooks and any other supporting materials that the teachers, their facilitators, or the children might need to use in the classroom. So with that in hand, they have, of course, to move to capacity development. And here we mean teacher training. And they do that in both in-service and pre-service, engaging the teacher training in institutes in some countries, universities in certain countries, and in some areas, it's the private sector that looks after the teacher training. So based on having this curriculum, having this package, having trained teachers, of course, they go into a rollout process, and that rollout process is not a one go, but it's rather an ever evolving process, because they need to do piloting and go back again to the curriculum design, go back to some of the teacher training area. And only when the curriculum is well revised, then they will do a full rollout of this curriculum nationally. Some countries choose to do it at all levels. Some countries choose to do it gradually, first grade, second grade next year, third grade the year after, and so on. And of course, all of this rollout goes with an assessment, goes with certain standards that they need to put exams on, for example, and they evaluate the program either through observation approaches or through researches, and then they go back again to the policy dialogue. And that can happen. There are some countries that do it every 5 years. There are some countries that never did it, actually, and there are countries that do it every 30 years, like the Netherlands, for instance. So this is the standards that Aflatoun uses. And for that, actually, what we provide for each step is that for the policy dialogue, we make sure to provide orientation, events, we do trainings, and we go and advocate with our partners, ourselves, or with our partners, or the partners by themselves. So that depends on what is the dynamic in that country. And then when we move to the curriculum design, we do organize workshops with the education department, with the technical teams in each of those departments. Then we move to the operationalization to start working on the writing of the curricula. So we organize working workshops, we do some testing in some classrooms, in some context. And of course, we bring in the inspectors of education to make sure that we indeed align with the objectives of the Ministries of Education frameworks. And then we move to, of course, developing learning materials with these inspectors and with these education departments for teachers, for children. And they can be manuals either used, either produced by editors or publishers, or they can be manuals produced by the Ministry of Education. That, again, depends on how the country approaches that aspect. And of course, we do support the teacher, the training of trainers, either pre-service or in-service, engaging the Teacher Training Institute and engaging our Global Master Trainers and our partners. And I think this is an area that is very, very important to keep in mind, is that in the process of integration, the most demanding step is that of the training of trainers and training of teachers. And I think this is, again, where our network is of greatest help. And this is where the network actually shows really the value of the social and financial education of the Aflatoun program, because we bring in the right approach, we bring in the right support that is needed, and that most ministries don't have, even if they do the integration, even if they work on the curricula. That training of trainers is really key. And of course, when we move to the rollout, we need also to accompany our partners in the Ministry of Education in the piloting, in the review, by providing, of course, tools of monitoring and evaluation to assess measures and measure the quality of that program. Now, the main takeaways from these experiences is that we encourage everyone that is starting to engage with the ministry, or even if they have already engaged with the ministry, to really involve all the stakeholders, because the financial education and social education or life skills, it's not a matter of only experiencing for the child to experience that hour or 2 hours in the classroom and that's it, but they need to experience that outside. We talk about financial inclusion. A child learns to save, then that child needs to have a possibility, for instance, to save in a formal setting and so on. So if we involve financial institutions, they might see, for example, the importance of this education, and they might provide future services, like they can support teacher training, they can open a saving account. So it depends on the nature of that stakeholder. The second main takeaway is to use child-centered interactive teaching methodologies. Again here, and this is not something that is new for everyone, I guess, but it's worth saying it again, is that life skills, financial education, is not something that we teach as a rote, is not like someone speaking like I'm doing now, but it's rather something to experience, something to own. And that's why it is key and it is critical in a positive way for the success of social and financial education to use child-centered learning. Invest in teacher training in order actually to solidify and to support that child-centered interactive teaching, both in service and in pre-service. And I think that this is not, I think, and this is the reality, is that once there is real integration, the pre-service follows automatically, because once there is a curriculum, they need to prepare the teachers for that curriculum. And of course, we need to involve stakeholders in education activities like the private sector, like the banks, for instance, like the we can talk about the cooperative world, or we can talk about areas where children can go and do their activities and so on. And that, of course, depends on the setting where you work. Is it urban? Is it rural? Is it semi-rural, etc.? And the last thing is to be inclusive. And when we say to be inclusive, of course, we always talk about gender. Of course, we'll talk about the populations, the segment populations with disabilities or with challenges and so on. But we also look at the inclusivity of the much younger populations, because research is now showing more and more that the earlier we engage children in life skills and financial education, the better results are. And of course, when we speak about integration, it's not only the formal education, but it's also the non-formal education. There are other ministries in the government that have their policies and education approaches, and they need to integrate such programs in their approaches. And that is it for me. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Hassan. It's great to hear from you. I think we have Rosie back to the call so that she can continue her presentation. Rosie, are you here?
Hello once again. I'd like to share my screen and continue with the presentation. I'm sorry for the interruption. Okay, I was talking about a case study, case pilot project that was started in 2015. And we were talking about this project, which was a joint effort of the government of Nepal, UNICEF and someone of Nepal. We were in the second slide, importance of having life skills. As you know, it is very important. And we were talking about how it empowers the adolescents. So during our pilot project, we were, as part of the implementation, we found that Aflatoun boasts about how adolescents are empowered to become social change agents in their communities. And during our program delivery, we find that because this package has a balance of both the social and the financial component, children were very active in raising awareness programs in the community. And this piloting took place in the government schools in the rural areas of Nepal too. So the children were very active in working against child marriages from the child clubs. They were also actively involved in raising awareness against a Chaupari system, which is a system where girls are secluded for 4 or 5 days in a shed, and they're not allowed to go to school. So there was this curriculum has supported for really the empowering of adolescents, which we found in our program. And in the post-COVID context, I find that the CSFE integration in the curriculum is support for a better transition to work and prove the relevancy of education. So when you talk about the process, how it started in Nepal, it started earlier in 2012. And when UNICEF started financial literacy for adolescents in out-of-school settings under its ADAPT program, which is the Adolescent Development and Participation Program, where financial literacy was identified and recognized as key to ensuring adolescent development. In the following year, in 2013, UNICEF headquarters partnered with Aflatoun to capacitate national partners and UNICEF staff in 4 selected countries, wherein besides Nepal, Macedonia, South Sudan, and Turkey was selected as 4 countries to implement the CSFE. In the global programming of the United Nations Children's Fund, as child social and financial education is a part of a life skills-based education framework and an integral component of child-friendly schools framework approach. Working with Aflatoun, UNICEF headquarters developed a CSFE module that provides guidance to countries on how to advocate for, promote, and implement CSFE. And in September 2013, in Nepal, a month before that in the same year, the National Planning Commission of the Government of Nepal launched the National Plan of Action on Holistic Adolescent Development for Adolescents in 2013. And it had a vision All adolescents are empowered economically to deal with financial matters responsibly as one of the 5-year goals, and envisioned an empowered and competent new generation for a better Nepal. And one of the 6 domains of adolescent development in the NPA was financial literacy, livelihoods, and employability. So in December of the same year, the task force meeting was held among high-level government officials, wherein the Ministry of Education, the Curriculum Development Center, UNICEF, the University Grants Commission, National Center for Education Development, CTBT, the National Central Bank, all came together and in order to achieve the goals of the NPA, they decided to pilot some of the CSFE lessons in the curricula, which was in line with the NPA's vision for an empowered Nepal. So they decided to implement in grade 9 and 10 in the social studies curriculum. Why grades 9 and 10? This is because the curriculum at the time was being reviewed for grade 9 and 10. In the same year, in the next year, January 2014, a planning workshop was consequently held, during which the MOE officials and 9 agencies, UNICEF, Nepal Education, and Adolescent Development and Participation Teams, Aflatoun Headquarters, CWEN, UNICEF Education and Evaluation Section, New York, they all came together and they developed a comprehensive action plan that defined inputs, outputs, and outcomes, and mainly agreed upon timelines and identified responsibilities as well as budgets for the CSFE pilot. So in the same year, in the April and May of 2014, a curriculum review workshop was held. And this workshop, it identified and reviewed the curriculum of Nepal, especially of grades 9 and 10, based on the Aflatoun curriculum. And it identified the gaps, and they provided a grid based on the workshop. A grid of the gaps were provided, which was reviewed with the curriculum of 9 and 10 curriculum of Nepal, and a set of recommendations were made. And Samrat Nepal was involved from this point onwards, and UNICEF and all other partners were involved. Based on that, a pilot program was launched. This pilot program had the objectives of adapting the child's social and financial curriculum for secondary education for grades 9 and 10. And adaptation and contextualization also requires capacitating the teachers, trainers, master trainers, and educational support staff on CSFE curricula and child-centered teaching methods. And finally, the objective was to support the government to conduct the CSFE program in schools, analyze and incorporate lessons learned in the adapted CSFE modules for formal education. So this is a program snapshot of the program. The name was Integration and Piloting of Science, Social and Financial Education Program. It was carried out in the year from November 2015 to 2016 and September 2016 and 17. Working area of the 5 districts of Nepal, namely Sankhuwasabha, Roeland, Lamjung, Surkhet, and Doti districts. And the objective was to support the CDC in integrating the CSFE component in the curriculum and textbooks of grades 9 and 10. The implementing partners were the 5 district education officers of the target 5 districts and 17 schools. And the technical support partner was Samrat Nepal, which mainly carried out all the collaboration with CDC and NCED to develop the modules and the trainings, as well as monitoring and support. The funding partner was UNICEF Headquarters, and the beneficiaries were 2,194 children from 17 schools. So this is the map of Nepal in 2015. It has changed a lot now. So based on the geographical regions, the 5 districts were chosen, and the 5 development regions, and covers also the 3 ecological zones: the mountains, the hills, and the plains. So the 5 districts were Sankhuwasabha, Roeland, Lamjung, Surkhet, and Doti. And the major activities that we carried out. In the beginning, a task force group was formed with the MOE, Central Bank, the National Center for Education Development, and a meeting was held. This technical committee was involved in the selection of the districts for the piloting, and it was a kickoff meeting that provided the impetus for the program to carry on. In the next stage, we supported the government in adapting the CSFE curriculum to ensure the relevance for incorporation within the curricula. So the gap analysis workshop that's supported for the grid was adapted and contextualized into the Nepal's curriculum. And in this pilot, it was not integrated directly into the government's curriculum from the beginning, but it was a slow process. This was a pilot which was done parallel to the government integration. So it's supported for that integration slowly. And as a pilot, we had to develop the learners' materials. So the learners' materials were developed. The student activity book was a major learning material for the students of grades 9, and in it there were the learning competencies, the 5 core areas based on which the curriculum of Aflatoun was adapted and contextualized. And we also had the teacher's guide to support the execution of the student activity book, which is mainly child-friendly and child-centered with lots of games and activities and project works. There were also saving rulers to support the children in promoting the savings scheme in the schools. We also had the flex chart with the 5 core areas so that people had a glance about what the subject is all about. There were also a lot of project work and game sets developed as part of the curriculum. Following it was the capacity building training. It was carried out, and from Paul Mokler from Aflatoun, who was the master trainer that supported for this capacity building to the teachers directly. And at the time we had the great earthquake. So following the great earthquake, there was a little bit reshuffling of the plans, because it was initially planned as MTOT to the trainers and then to the teachers. But then because of that, we had a direct training to the teachers in 2 phases. In the second phase, someone was involved in the training, and the training was also capacitated from DEO focal persons, personnel from the MOE, from the NCED, CDC experts were all involved in the training. And finally, we were able to also do the orientation to the teachers on the use of the learning materials in the schools. And the rollout was planned in the 17 schools, reaching out to around 2194 students of grades 9 and 10. And following it, we also did an orientation to the textbook writers of the Curriculum Development Center, so as to integrate the contents in the textbooks as well. We also carried out joint monitoring with the government officials to schools to observe the activities that was being carried out on CSFE. And finally, a review meeting with the government officials was supported and carried out with the participants from the Ministry of Education, from the CDC, from the stakeholders, the schools, the teachers, the supervisors, that helped us identify the lessons learned, and the way ahead was also identified. And so these are some of the pictures of the pilot program, where as part of the program we found, I think we list on the slide. Okay, these are the pictures of children involved in potato farming enterprises. Because as part of the program, children were mainly involved in various enterprising activities. This is the second picture talks about the Rudraksha farming. It has a religious significance, and a lot of recycling of waste paper products and materials was also carried out. This is a fence the children developed as part, because they did not have a school fence. So they developed this fence out of the waste plastic bottles. So all these were some examples. And children were also involved in developing various knitwears and selling it to the local buses and saving money from it. They also recorded all the savings in the passbooks, and it was demonstrated us for what they have done during the visit. And major achievements are that the curriculum and contents have been integrated in grade 9 social studies curriculum textbooks and the teacher's guide. A facilitation manual or child social and financial education program has been developed. And this manual was developed so that so that the program not be limited to one school. So any school can use this manual to conduct the child social and financial education program. And but this manual is in Nepali. And one important factor was we found was the saving habit of the children, which within the 17 schools. And during a short phase, in the second phase, we found that the children have been saving about 239,582 rupees in total during that time. And we found that 34.8% of the children were actively participating in the savings program, and the average amount was around 313 rupees. And the children were also associated with the banks to save the money, and they were also encouraging the families to save and open a bank account and generating more financial independence. So as we said, children were involved in various enterprising activities in the schools. And as part of the achievements, we also found that the pedagogy of learning, because in Nepal, you find in the villages, in the schools, the learning is more rote learning and teacher-centered. But with this program, we found the change in pedagogy as most of the teachers were involved in projects, working on projects. Children were working on various projects, and kind of a shift in pedagogy has changed. So I think this was a good, outcome of the program. I felt that. And the major challenges was the earthquake, around 7.8 Richter hit in April, and consequently the project was a bit delayed. And we saw lots of aftershocks during the whole year. So the program, even the schools were closed for a lot of time, just as a lockdown we faced in the COVID time, due to which the effective implementation was delayed because schools were closed, and they had a very short session to complete all the curriculum and activities. So that's what we found, and it's been 5 years, more than 5 years. It was this pilot was in 2015. So we did during the process of integration, we have been coordinating with the Curriculum Development Center, Ministry of Education, National Center for Education Development, the Central Bank, everything. But within the 5 years, the people have changed there, and Nepal is a more federal, turning into a federal state. So now there's a gap. There's a gap in what is happening at the policy level in the government. That's why we were not able to provide you with any person from the ministry. And but during the review and during the part of the program, what we see was that there is a great opportunity that lay ahead in Nepal to support integration of the child social and financial education from the primary level and from the ECE level as well. So I think we have that potential, and even the government is supporting is putting impetus in financial literacy as well. The central bank and everyone is into this boat. However, at the time, the government's priority were laid on the disaster risk reduction more than financial education. So that's why the shift, I think, was changed at the time. But now, I think, with the COVID times and the importance of financial literacy lay large, so we have lots of opportunities. And as in the previous session about rollout and integration, I think in Nepal we need more support from Aflatoun and other partners to continue our effort to support the government in integration, not just at the curriculum level, but we need more programs so that it's, because this integration is not about only curriculum, it is more about child-friendly learning approach and project work activities, which needs to be intervened at a greater level and needs to be continued. So the pilot program has had both the achievements and the challenges, and it provides some breakthrough to continue this program and has a way ahead. Thank you so much. For the queries, I think we had a bit electricity problem. Dr. Suman Tuladar is also here with me for any queries you may have. And our director, Yogesh Shrestha, is also here. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Rosie. Thank you for being with us. Shamali, I think you're also back from...
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Can you hear me now? No.
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah, I'm yes, it's Sri Lanka and Nepal the same way. We have the power cut. Sorry about this. And thank you very much. I missed the first part of the presentation of Rosie Shakya, but the other part was what I have seen was really impressive. Thank you so much for your brilliant presentation. And also, I must say a big thank, even though I miss to thank Hassan. Thank you, Hassan. It's indeed a kind of an eye-opener for most of us to understand the 21st century essential core skills, life skills, and financial literacy skills from your local experience to global arena. Thank you so much, Hassan. I couldn't thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you as well, Shamali.
Now it's time for our discussion.
Yes, Shamali, we have received a few questions in the chat on YouTube. So I will first read out the first question. This one is directed to Hassan. Do you have any plans to include life skills under Aflatoun programs with regard to educating students on decision-making in the context of democratic political processes? Given the huge media influence on political issues, we believe that developing a module on this aspect will have a big impact on the democratic process of countries, especially in Southeast Asia. This question came from Ranjit. Hassan?
Yes, thank you, Ranjit. What a question, I would say. Very, very important indeed. Let me first maybe start with saying that in our curriculum, when we speak about the clubs, for example, when we speak about the election process and so on, it is a main and core activity, as we call it in our program, to set up the clubs, to give the children the experience to put their hands and to, for example, elect their representatives, elect their treasurers, elect their secretaries, and have consultative approaches when it comes to debating several areas around their project. This is a key element and a key activity within the program. And we approach it within our curriculum through two different ways. One is through indeed setting up the clubs, but at the same time, we also approach it through the rights and responsibilities content that looks as well not only at my right to eat or my right to protection, but it's also my right, my responsibility to support the other, my responsibility to protect the other, my responsibility to contribute to the other. So these are areas actually where we balance between the activity itself and the session itself. And indeed, as we move forward in the age, those activities are more and more centered indeed around social responsibility by bringing in sessions on critical thinking to allow them to think actually if there is a problem in your community, how to solve it and so on. And as they go into the teenage years, as they go into the beyond the teenage years, our program indeed touch more and more on how to be more engaged socially. Now, how to be more engaged politically speaking, if I think that's also one area of your question, that is something that indeed we are considering, but we try to play more on the foundation of it, to not be openly and directly saying that we do an education on politics. No, but we do an education on self first and how that self can contribute within the community, within their peers, her peers, or his peers, to indeed then have a positive impact. And that can be a social, can be political, and so on. And when you speak about the life skills, how we include that, actually the social education in Aflatoun is about life skills, and even financial education is also in our consideration a life skill. But if we consider that the terminology used by UNICEF or used by other organizations, we do find most of those concepts and definition under our social and financial education. And it is indeed an opportunity and a large and vast area where we can always develop and contribute. We hope you can contribute with us as well with your experience and inputs. Thanks.
Thank you, Hassan. If no one wants to add anything to this, we can move on to another question. We have a question here from Rosalina to the Department of Education in Philippines. Why did you partner with banks and not with cooperatives? I guess just a bit about the process and the partnership. Jocelyn, are you here with us? Let me just take a look at.
Diana, I don't think I see Jocelyn in the list of the participants.
We'll make sure to give this question to her and come back to you about that, Rosalina. Next question to Indonesia Ministry of Education. Do you have any policy or strategy to push the implementation of life skill and financial education for all preschools in Indonesia?
Yes, let me answer Mr. Lucky question. Yes, we have like a policy about diversification curriculum. We already have 4 modules as like I present before. We have 4, and then I think it's a part of our policy of diversification curriculum. The policy in that module is like we give example for EC units. How about to implement it? How about to habituate children for them ability of SFE. So we have example for them, and then they can be like modify the lesson plan, and then or more maybe they can follow the example from our module, like that, Ms. Loki.
Okay,
thank you.
Thanks.
We have another question. This is directed to all speakers, so whoever wants to speak first, go ahead. How do you recommend small NGOs to start advocating social and financial education in our local or national? Based on your experience.
May I suggest, Shamali, I think you are doing something similar in your context. Maybe that can be one experience to share. Hello?
Yeah, I think Shamali mute before, but Shamali, can you hear Hassan question?
Hello.
Oh. Yeah. Yeah, there was the question on how can a small NGO, how can any NGO actually advocate and link with the education authorities. I thought maybe it's good to share your experience as well.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, perfectly.
Yeah, in Sri Lanka, of course, we are working with an NGO where I work voluntary. We call Network for Education, Children and Youth. They are because we couldn't talk directly to the Ministry of Education authorities still, but we were able to talk to provincial directors of education, basically central and UR, and also certain other provinces as well. And at the initiative stage, of course, we invited people from the Ministry of Education, National Institutes of Education, and so many other authorities as well. And through them, we were able to initiate our projects, our teacher training, and implementing those projects in the schools. we were able to do that in the central province. For example, actually we got Paul Monclair, the Aflatoun Global Master Trainer, to Sri Lanka, and through him we trained many teachers, like 40 teachers for 10 days training. We were able to get the permission from the Central Provincial Education Director here. And with that experience, with that teacher training, the ministry has selected some of us as master trainers, and we did monitoring and evaluating of the school project. The respective school teachers, those who have come for training, they had to perform or form Aflatoun club as an extracurricular activity, and they formed clubs, and through their clubs they did wonders. They did lot of social and financial enterprises, and our students were able to create lot of new entrepreneurship projects and kind of different stuff with the school community. And in those schools, actually, we selected 10 schools at the very beginning. We selected certain schools as model schools, and the Director of Education gave us the permission for other schools to visit those schools and get an idea. And we were implementing it in the Central Province and Ua Province as well. So, but now we are waiting to take this to a national level and talk to the Minister of Education, because in Sri Lanka we change governments time to time, and when we convince some political leaders and Minister of Education, and when it comes and if they change, because actually we were introducing this to the former President of Sri Lanka, and he was trying to work out. But after the election, he was not selected, and we have a new president now, and we are moving ahead with that. I'm pretty sure Lucky will definitely help us to contact with the Minister of Education people when we talk to these people through our NGO and introduce this to Sri Lanka. So I'm so happy, Hashan, because the things that you were sharing, like the 21st century essential core skills, we were delivering with some other British Council work, and they have given permission to that. So if we include this financial inclusion there, the financial education there, we will definitely have a positive feedback from the Ministry of Education, and we are hoping to do that. Thank you so much.
Diana, maybe just to complete for the question, Aflatoun has developed a manual called the Partner Manual. A new version of the Partner Manual was published in 2018, and that can provide a lot of answers when it comes to when and who to engage when it comes to engage in the national authorities of education, which I think is also part of the 6 steps of implementation that Aflatoun advises for the implementation of its program.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Yeah, thank you.
And related to this question, we were asked also to all speakers, how do you make sure that a program with the government lasts even after the election of new government officials?
May I answer to that question, Diana? Thank you. And I think this is why exactly we are here in this session, is to talk about integration. When we talk about integration or having the Aflatoun program, it's not only about having the permission to implement it in the school as an extracurricular activity or even within school hours, but we are talking about exactly having these life skills in financial or social and financial education part of the education policies, part of the education norms of that country. So it's very different from getting a permission to implement the program than doing the integration, which is a total different exercise. And I think the experience of the Philippines, the experience of Nepal that we have seen, they have demonstrated examples of how to really work with the Department of Education, department in charge of curricula, the inspectors of education, the teachers, trainers, and so on, to make sure that that is part of the curriculum itself and it is embedded, integrated into the content itself, without having the NGO to do it, without having any organizations to do it. So any public school will have to implement and roll out that program. So that's the difference. And of course, that goes from advocacy to technical workshops with the technical people at the ministry level.
Thank you, Hassan. Does anyone want to add anything to that? If not, we can go to the next question. This one is directed to Rosie. Do you have any updates on the current policy of social and financial education in Nepal, in the Ministry of Education?
Currently, I'm sorry to say that there's a transition in the federal government, and we've not been able to keep up with the update with the social and financial policy. That's why I'm talking about we need support to push the government to advocate, to put financial education at the foremost priority. I think now we have more COVID and other things in their priority. So we need to keep pushing the government. Thank you, Aflatoun, for reminding us.
Thank you, Rosie. We have a question for Dr. Ethel. Do you have any advice for our network to work with the Ministry of Education in the country level in 11 member countries in advancing life skill and financial education for all the member countries?
Hello, good evening from the Philippines. As regards advices for the network to work with the Ministries of Education at country level in 11 member countries in order for us to advance life skills and financial education. So in most Ministries of Education, they have sort of technical working committees. I recall that in the Philippines, there is a technical working committee working on literacy. And in fact, I was one of the members. And the civil society and other organizations are represented in that committee. So it is good also for the civil society and our own network, even Aflatoun, can actually represent themselves in the technical working committee and meet with the policymakers so that it is already in the awareness and actually in the curriculum planning and implementation. So, well, Tagum Cooperative is here and also in Indonesia. And in some ways, they have very good collaboration and reach with the local government units and even with the Department of Education. So I think it's really a matter of presenting yourself in these committees and offering your assistance. And it is our responsibility to work together and collaborate to have literacy on financial skills and others. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Ethel. That was my question actually, and from your presentation, I also very interested to explore possibility to collaborate with your lifelong learning center in Vietnam. Maybe early next year, I'll try to contact you and then explore the possibility to work together. And I think it's great also with your support. Aflatoun can facilitate connection between our local partners in the 11 member countries to advocate and discuss about the possibility of integrating life skill and financial education.
Yes, actually, we have already planned to have training, right? From Malaysia to Bangkok, and suddenly there is COVID. So we're not able to have all our centers attend our training program. But certainly with this limitation, we can still do it. Maybe next year, because we've been busy helping Ministries of Education in their blended, hybrid, and online learning programs and developing capacities of teachers, which is actually an emergency already. So
Yeah.
I think you got muted, Ethel.
Yes, we can go back to our original plan to do the training maybe early next year. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Ethel. I think countries like Myanmar, Timor-Leste, allow those countries that I think we need to advocate more on this important issue. We have a successful story from Indonesia and Philippines, and I think we need to reach out to more countries in the other 11 countries of your member.
Lucky, maybe we can add that, of course, the COVID-19 is something to keep in mind because it also helped us accelerate how we can provide training even in the context of COVID-19. So there are possibilities to organize online training. We've been doing quite a number of training during the online training during the last 3 months.
Yeah.
So we can also see, we can already start before starting the face-to-face, which is of course another way of form of training. We can already engage in the online one.
Okay, great advice, Hassan. Thank you so much. So yeah, I think early next year I can start reach out to Dr. Ethel about the possible collaboration with the Vietnam Lifelong Learning Center, and from that we can reach out to more countries with the option of online learning training and also the face-to-face training. It's let's explore early next year. Thanks, Hassan, and thanks, Dr. Ethel.
Thank you. And related to that, there's a question for Gabriel regarding online trainings. Is there any online program or training directed to teachers to help them at the moment?
That's a question for Hassan or for?
It's an open question. I guess Hassan can answer it.
Yeah. Indeed, as you know, Aflatoun does provide training. We, of course, prioritize training of trainers at the organization so we can assure a kind of scale. So we build also, we do have a certain transfers of capacities and skills to our partners organization so they can themselves train for the teachers. But if there is an organization that wishes us to provide the training for the teachers directly, I think that discussions we can have directly with that organization in Lucky, and then we see how we can organize and provide that training according to the partnership that we have and so on. Yeah. And maybe a good helping tip will be to also join the platform. Lucky, maybe you can mention that as well.
Yeah, I think most of our partners in Asia already joined our partner platform. So yeah, I think that the important issue now how to really use it effectively, the platform, in order for us to learn and also to access all the content or the features of our partner platform.
Yes.
Yeah.
If anyone has any questions about the partner platform, please let us know. We're here to help and learn together. I think we have time for a couple more questions. This is also an open question to all speakers. Is there a monitoring and evaluation process during national implementation of the Aflatoun curricula? And where can we find some research about that? Not sure if one of the speakers who's done the implementation wants to answer, or maybe Hassan or Lucky.
Sorry, Diana, it cut off a little bit. It kept cutting off for the last minute. Can you repeat, please?
Oh, sorry about that. The question was, is there a monitoring and evaluation process during national implementation of Aflatoun curricula? And where can we find research done about that?
Yes, so maybe I can answer that question on two areas. The first thing is how we support the ministries with monitoring and evaluation. So once the ministry have decided actually what sort of objectives to address in the national curriculum and how to integrate these life skills and financial literacy, we also support them by providing our monitoring and evaluation tools. But again, that is another exercise where they need to also align it with their monitoring and evaluation evaluation tools they use themselves. And this is again where we make a difference between the teachers, trainers, and the inspectors of education, because that would be the role of the inspectors of education. In terms of research and how that go, the integration, properly speaking, is still a young activity within Aflatoun. We've been doing it for the last 5-6 years, but we didn't do any research yet. But we did, however, monitoring and research on the processes, not on the impact of the education, because that has been done through the different implementations done by partners in different contexts. So we think it has proven itself, but we did some research on the processes on different countries, such as Cameroon, Uganda. There is the Nepal case study with UNICEF as well, and UNICEF actually has published quite a number of publications on how to introduce also life skills and financial education. So we can share that with you. And in 2015, 2016, we have published a paper called the White Paper, the different ways of integrating social and financial education, and that can show what was the status of integration through the different models, the different approaches, and what was all the different processes in the countries in that year. And we're hoping to, we're planning actually to have a second version of that document available by February 2021, so we can have further insights of not only how to, but what were the different processes, different approaches. We hope that can also answer the question that it's a research done around integration.
Yeah, thanks, Hasan. I think our partner from Indonesia, the Ministry of Education from Indonesia, when they piloted our preschool curriculum, they have, I think, a quick research or assessment on the effectiveness of the social financial education for preschool in Indonesia. I think they have a quick assessment on this. Donna or Lilis, do you want to share a little bit about this one? So,
yes, I think Mrs. Lilis, who's included in their project, pilot project. Mrs. Lilis, I think, would you please?
Just share a little bit about
yes, because for the
tools and the method and maybe also the impact.
Yes.
Benar.
Sebentar.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Donna. Thank for this opportunity. I'm sorry, I will speak with Bahasa, Mr. Lucky.
Okay, yeah, then I can translate for you. It's fine.
Okay. Okay. Terima kasih, Pak Lucky. Terkait dengan apa tadi hasil yang terkait dengan yang perkembangan yang kami capai dari proses penerapan yang telah dilakukan, itu kami melihat ada perkembangan dari sisi kognitif pada anak, kemudian moral, value, dan juga sosial emosional untuk anak. Jadi banyak hal.
Our assessment from the pilot project, we observe that there's a change behavior in terms of cognitive and social aspect of children.
Yes.
Ya, kemudian selain itu juga kami melihat ada karena penerapan pendidikan sosial finansial ini sebenarnya mengevaluasi para pendidik sendiri bahwa pembelajaran pendidikan sosial finansial tidak hanya terkait masalah uang, tetapi lebih pada bagaimana dapat mengelola aset sehingga anak mampu mengembangkan kemampuan dan kemandiriannya. Dan ini yang dirasakan dengan penerapan pendidikan sosial finansial yang kami adaptasi dari Aflatoun ini, bahwa pendidikan sosial finansial ini lebih membangun bagaimana seorang anak untuk dapat berperilaku bijak terkait dengan mengelola keuangan.
So yeah, one very important finding from our assessment from this pilot project for preschool life skill and financial education in Indonesia is teachers they aware that this life skill is not about money only about money, but the other important thing is about the characters building of children, attitude, other behavior, other positive behavior.
Oke. Dan seperti tadi yang disampaikan Mbak Dona terkait dengan strategi kebijakan yang saat ini sedang dikembangkan oleh Direktorat PAUD, itu adalah melakukan bimbingan teknis ke seluruh pendidik di Indonesia. Dan di situ kami menguatkan dengan pendidikan sosial finansial ini, menguatkan terkait dengan pembelajaran literasi finansial yang selama ini dilakukan oleh mereka. Seperti tadi saya katakan bahwa selama ini yang dilakukan para pendidik lebih banyak mereka berorientasi kepada mengenalkan uang. Nah, di sini dari pengalaman kami waktu mengkaji, mengadaptasi Aflatoun ini, kami menemukan ada 3 hal yang menarik, yaitu membangun kemampuan finansial ini dari 3 tahapan, dari mulai pemahaman diri, pengelolaan diri, sampai pengelolaan keuangan. Nah, ini yang pemahaman diri dan pengelolaan diri ini yang kurang banyak dilakukan oleh para pendidik di lapangan secara terintegrasi dengan pembelajaran untuk pengelolaan keuangan, sehingga pendidikan sosial finansial ini yang dirasakan ini menguatkan apa yang dilakukan oleh para pendidik untuk memperbaiki yang selama ini mereka lakukan. Seperti itu, Pak.
Great. So Lilis just make she want to make a clear conclusion that the social or the life skill and financial education during the pilot project in Indonesia is really bring a big impact on not only to the children but also to the policy level in Indonesia, and that push them to really implement the program for all preschool teachers in Indonesia, because they found that there are 3 aspects on the implementation of social and financial education for preschool in Indonesia, including the management of money, but also management of themselves, the management of individual in everything else, besides only money. And also the last aspect is to explore about their potential, explore their ability, their dream, their plan. So it's a great assessment, and they want to have it to more and more learners in Indonesia, especially for the early childhood students. Well, Lilis, thank you so much for your sharing, and I think that's a great assessment and a great impact to know that Indonesia want to push this policy to our learners in Indonesia, the preschool learners in Indonesia.
Thank you, Loki. I think we are out of time, so I don't know if you would like to give some closing statements.
Come again, Diana. I lost you in a.
I think we're out of time, so we can't go to more questions. So would you like to give a closing statement before we go?
Yeah. As an Asia Program Manager, I would like to thank you to all the speakers. This is a great meeting, and we honored with all the presentation from Indonesia government, from Philippine government, from Nepal, our partners, from Hassan, our colleague, and also from Dr. Ethel, the keynote speakers, on how to advance this important life skill and financial education into the country level integration. And of course, our participants during this meeting, thank you so much for the active engagement, active participation. After this meeting, I will share with you all the presentation. And also, of course, you can have all the recording. And also, I think it's already recorded in the live YouTube, so you can check the link anytime to have it to get it more detail about all the presentation. Once again, thank you so much, and hopefully to meet you again in other meetings next year. We will have another meeting on our strategy for the 5 years. Thank you so much, everyone, and have a nice afternoon, nice evening in Asia, and nice morning for our colleagues in Amsterdam.
Thank you so much, Luki.
All the best.
Diana, do you want to do a group picture maybe with all the cameras on?
Please. Group picture will be perfect.
Thank you.
Please turn on your cameras before leaving. Just a quick picture. Great, thank you all. 1, 2, and 3. Done. Perfect. Thank you all. Very nice to see you.
Bye.
Thank you, Diana.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye, everyone. Bye-bye.